Hey, what's up? So there's a fresh update out from Menace, and you're definitely going to want to hear about what's new, what's been fixed, and how some of the gameplay elements have shifted with this patch. This patch doesn't just fix a few small bugs here and there. It also brings in a new weapon that changes some tactical options, rebalance tweaks, UI improvements, and a whole bunch of stability and quality of life fixes that the community has been asking for since the early access launch back in February. So let's break down everything that's in this update in a way that makes sense and feels like we're just talking through all the cool and important stuff together. First up, the big new addition in this patch is a Heavy SMG. This isn't just any side piece. We're talking about a Heavy SMG now being available in the black market and as a reward from factions. It's meant to be a powerful close quarters weapon that can punch out a lot of damage in short range fights, giving you more options when you're outfitting your squads for missions that are going to get up close and personal. This is a new piece of content that adds more choice to how you build your loadouts and how your strategy could evolve across operations. Alongside that, they've made a change that some of you might not notice right away, but it's genuinely impactful once you do. Jetpack movement now counts towards perk triggers for perks like Steady Gun and Zigzag. That means if you've got units with jetpacks and you're flying them around the battlefield, that movement is now factored into those perk conditions, just like walking or running would be. This opens up a bit more tactical depth, especially for builds and squad compositions that lean into mobility and hit-and-run engagements. The patch also touches on so many small things that just make the game feel smoother to play. For example, the update has added preview icons on the map for some enemy leaders, like pirate ringleaders and captains, so you can plan better when you're plotting your routes and engagements. They also added notifications for when you try to deploy something. You can't actually deploy because of missing requirements like not having a vehicle ready or not having enough squaddies in your roster. Iron Man players will now get clear alerts when quick saving or loading isn't available too, so you don't wonder why the game seemed to ignore your input. Some other changes might seem minor, but they really smooth out rough edges that could pull you out of the experience. Mines and acid puddles no longer affect flying units, which just keeps the rules consistent, so you're not confused when a flying unit suddenly takes damage from terrain it should logically ignore. They also changed the default keybind for selecting the previous unit from Shift-Tab to Control-Tab to avoid conflicts with the Steam overlay, which is one of those little annoyances that once it's fixed, you're like, oh yeah, that was actually kind of getting in the way. The default display mode was also switched from full screen to full screen window because some players were reporting issues with the old mode. Another small but thoughtful detail here is that the volume of the splash video at game start was reduced to 80%, which helps with audio consistency, so you're not blasted with loud sound when you launch the game. And they've gone in and cleaned up some translations and added some missing icons, so the UI is clearer in more places. Updated iconography for the advanced sensor accessory and corrected tier icons for the DMR also help with clarity, so you're not guessing at what something actually does. Of course, there's a huge chunk of this patch that's strictly about fixing things that were malfunctioning or behaving in ways that didn't make sense. Things like the vehicle accessory, additional armor plating, now actually applies armor in all directions like it was supposed to, and some perks like this is a knife were incorrectly usable after a unit was demoted, which is now fixed. There were multiple UI elements that covered important bits of information or didn't retranslate properly when you changed language mid-mission. All of that has been tidied up so the presentation feels more polished. And flipping to stuff like dead units floating weirdly when a watchtower was destroyed or certain perks not applying correctly to tower defenders are now handled as well. On the combat side, they fixed a bunch of cases where perks like Berserk weren't triggering properly, and ammo types like Hollow Point, Rend, and Match Ammo weren't working as players expected. So those should now behave correctly. Indirect fire from ATGM weapons now does damage where it should, though it still hits a single element. That's just how the balance is intended at the moment. And movement overlays now show up consistently after using vehicle rotation skills, so you can plan your moves without missing crucial information. There's also some balancing changes in this patch. For instance, watchtowers now have a bit more hit points, so they're tougher to take down, and weapons like the grenade pistol and the KGMW auto grenade launcher have been adjusted with changes to damage, armor penetration, suppression values, and even cost in the marketplace. Some pirate units have lost their concealment benefits, which tweaks how early engagements play out. And help with mission pacing, a couple of mission types were tweaked, like making the hunt down saboteurs mission just a bit easier and reducing how often blaster bugs show up early in a campaign. There are still a few known issues lingering, including some antivirus programs misidentifying core game files as malware and deleting them, which requires whitelisting those files if it happens. Loading times can be rough if the game is installed on a traditional HDD rather than an SSD, and there are some display quirks with full screen after minimizing that are still on the list. But overall, this patch is a pretty comprehensive round of fixes, additions, improvements, and balancing that collectively make the experience feel a lot tighter and more consistent to play. If you're deep into your playthroughs, this is one of those updates where you'll notice the difference in a bunch of small places that add up to a smoother, more reliable tactical experience. And it's great to see the developers still actively supporting the game with both new content and robust fixes so early into its early access run.